Hello everyone. It's very cold here where I am, so I'm going to make this quick for survival reasons. I would like to talk about today of how man can blend. And I would like to talk about today the interesting topic of surrendering to omniscience and what that could mean. Because we're always looking, and the human psychology is at work, and so interpretation is being done. 8 billion people are thinking they're 8 billion people, and so where's the thought of man leading as one looks at what they have here? What is here for you? And so you need to see that I am not talking to you like a normal person. I am talking to you like a mystic, and a mystic is observing the unknown. He's not saying he's a know-it-all, because there's no need to be. It's actually the opposite. We don't know anything. Terence McKenna has this quote. He says, nobody knows enough to worry. So actually I'm not worried about what I know, and in a sense what I don't know, to a point, you know? Simply because the I don't know neutralizes all the significance you've built up very elusively based on your experiences of what real means. In certain traditions, there's the concept of devotion. For example, in yoga, there's bhakti yoga. And the concept of devotion, if we simply just take the concept before even going into any cultural framework of it, we see that devotion means that you are loving something, and in that love you're giving away everything. Let's think of it in the way of the mother feeding the child, you know. In the sense that you begin to see one aspect of existential intelligence begins to give all of itself to another aspect of existential intelligence. And in that giving, there is a simultaneous reception. Because kindness is being done, and there are very profound implications being present by the act. When you begin very honestly doing things, and when you don't have like a negative intention to do something, you know, you begin to see that you're freeing up space, and greater flows will come to your life. Because the concept of karma meant that we need to really see how we're taking our steps. And when you really look at it, you need to wonder who has the feet. And so you see, karma was simply the transcendence beyond the understanding that a duality was your identification. There's some moments where it's very silent, and it could be you with a group of friends in nature, by a campfire, and you just simply taking in the silence of the world. You just seeing how silence is actually what every man should be comfortable with. Every human being should be comfortable with silence, and then communicate with a great value for their words. Then words won't be just said. We would be existentially sensitive enough to shift the movement of our collective consciousness. In one moment, observe your reality and consider all the forms that you have so far. And all these forms are thoughts, they are judgments, they are values, they are principles, they are whatever relationship you have made one aspect of form relevant to another aspect of form. Whatever kind of relationship like that you have. Begin to see that there are some aspects of the human experience, the whole human experience, that give it a sense of being beyond a sense of space and time limitation. When one realizes their simultaneous sense of being in the fact that the drop was always part of the ocean, and the ocean was in the drop, one sees that consciousness in its choice, which was never it was an empty sense of construction, was what was keeping him in the mold of man. We are very great beings. Thought is no joke. Thought is actually, if you just begin to study the nature of how you're aware and thoughts are present in your awareness, you simply see that it's an amazing phenomena which is suggesting how you are experiencing things. And guys, do not forget the concept of living for the moment, because surrender to omniscience simply meant that. It meant that you were so aware of how your existence was here that your total awareness was your completion. So that it's as if you go in a moment and you know the moment is complete, and you simply walk to where you need to be next. Sometimes the moment gives you a communication that is an allowance for your subtler aspects, subtler planes, if you're aware of it, to receive information of what was there before. So your psychic sense of phenomena is simply how you are considering the world elusively and how that illusion is blending into the clarity that it actually is. So let me tell you, if I'm saying you can get clarity, if Mr. Within is saying clarity is possible, it's simply because you are a clear being. It is your self-discovery that needs to just make this clear for you. We want to work with an understanding that is not for anyone else. We want to work for an understanding that is for you. That means don't go into India and act as if like you're doing something, but go there and authentically experience what is there. And that means that when there is surrender, you see that there is actually more than surrender. You see that in that moment where the seeker gave up all his assumptions of what his truth was, in the silence and what continued after, he began to see that the answer was always here. That in letting go, only some problems can let go of us. And so, omniscience becomes an aspect of your experience that never needed interpretation, that never needed to be shaped, and never needed to have definition. Simple as that. We're multidimensional beings. They're saying we're objects. I don't think so. That's it. That's it. Just observe it for yourself, and you tell me if you think you're an object or if you think you have a transcendental vision. And transcendental vision means that you're acknowledging the fact that there's an unknown aspect, because us saying that we're only objects is saying that we know it. You know? So what that means is the ability of man to even have measurement is an amazing phenomenon. Because from certain views, angles, you can see that measurement is simply just fabrication. It is symbology connected in a certain way to imagery. And so man needs to recognize the aspect of self that is always leading to its selfless presence. So what that means is there have been moments where I have simply, how would I say? I haven't been honest to the moment. So what that means is that it was as if like whatever situation I was in, I was not accepting the situation, and so I was not being honest to the moment. And sometimes being honest to the moment means allowing everything that needs to happen. Do you know? I let a flower, sprout. So death is also a natural phenomenon. You let it happen. When consciousness stops, it becomes aware of all its beginnings. When consciousness begins, it becomes aware of all its ends. Simply because manifestation in a considered reality of space and time means that man is assuming he's able enough to see what is keeping him. When creation is considering that he is creator, there is a huge distinction in the suggestion of where experience is and should be. Because when you see that experience can be somewhere else, it is an enticing idea, but only to an idea. For beyond the idea, it is complete dissolution. Because chaos never needed the order to talk about it. Do you see? So that is why you begin to see that the nature of this reality is how you are simply walking. That roller coaster feeling is happening all the time. If you become aware of the moment, not one that is just limited to your box of consideration of space and time. So what that means is, before I say space and time, you might have been thinking about nachos, you know? So you see, it's not something that's constantly there, oh, this is space and time, this is the time. Because then we wouldn't need watches if it was directly being experienced all the time. It's just that because time is a construction of man to adjust himself, and he's dependent on that, he will see that it's like that is the flaw in how that viewpoint is run. For the vision of man succeeds in its wakefulness. So what that means is, if you just took that word wakefulness and you were like, you just thought about it and you're like, am I awake? That depth of question will simply enhance your life, because you will be observant of who you are more than who you think you are. Thoughts come and go. What is it that is staying here? They say the body changes every couple of weeks, the cells in your body. So similarly, everything is changing because there's infinite cycles of change. And so as you are existing here, and mankind has found the ignorance in this changing existence to say that he's fixed and he's situated and he's objective, perhaps the stand against the gods was simply man picking up a ruler and thinking that he's the ruler of the world. Measurement could be the flaw in how our assumption of that amount was never right. So what that means is, if on finding a very nice example, if someone writes the wrong instructions on a meal and writes the wrong time, you will begin to see it's like so many people will suffer because the time written on the instruction pack is wrong. So similarly, you see, in reality there is that dynamic where your choice now is affecting the choices to come, because simply it is what is in your awareness, unless you shift your gaze. So sometimes excitement means that don't just have that, oh my God, what's going to happen next view when you're surfing or skydiving. Have that every moment of your life, because you're grateful to see the depth of this existence. Because we need exploration and we need human communication to become more advanced. We need that efficiency in reality. Without that efficiency, we are bound to simply just dissolve in just the, how would I say it? It's as if like we're just going to feel like a program and then the program's going to end. I feel that's a ridiculous way for mankind to be aware of his awareness. So now let us take this to the next aspect of its progression. What that means is, guys, listen to me. We are aware of thoughts, and as we are aware of thoughts, we have something to work with. So as we have reference points in this reality, these reference points are giving us definition. Look at your life and see that the good and bad is defining who you can be and who you are. And even that guilty person who thought he was so guilty he was not going to go to his other duality, you are not a dualistic being. You're the awareness to the duality, you're the oneness of this world, you're the beginning of the end. And so now you need to see that it is your turn to spin differently. Consciousness is not bound to the limitations of an objective body. Do you recognize this? This objective body is your poetry. In other words, when Mr. Within heard this quote by Rumi, a Sufi mystic poet, where he said, "Be living poetry," I recognize that means all aspects of your inspiration, every thought that comes to you, let it be integrated and be presented in the most natural way, because in nature there was an allowance, and the surprises were your absence to be the way. You know, the concept of prophetic words is very interesting for me, because a prophet is a symbol. And so every symbol is a prophet. Every symbol is suggesting something else. It's an intermediary. And so in a world of intermediaries, man's communication can be fooled. But you will begin to see that the prophet of this modern world is just the human being who's clear. Give yourself clarity and you will see your state of being shall become prophetic to the moment. You shall bring forth an atmosphere of sincerity, of compassion, and you will show this existence how far the compassion of man can go. Because we are here to enhance our consciousness, because some people are not. Many people, some people are, the most conscious people are not present in the most active states where decisions are being made. And so if decisions are being made by people who have no faith into a future they cannot see. O spiritual man, you were always the madman until all recognize why they breathe. Your freedom needs an aspect of you to surrender your limitation for your limitless moment. You know, it is no longer about inspiration to get you to moving somewhere. There is no destination here. Recognize this. That is why we need mystics now, and mystics need to be graceful. You need to realize that to step into the unknown, to be a treasure revealer, and to bring forth your greater communication as an advanced communicator, it is very important for you to fall in love with reality. Because devotion will enhance your flows and your intuition will be guided by the harmony of your joy. We want to get you on the path of joy, because joy will begin to show you the suffering that is there. A joyful man, that simple saint, you have not seen his tears, because he has suffered by seeing every man suffering in this world. There are so many silent people in this world that they walk in their brilliance and they wonder if it would ever be seen. Well, guess what? Now it can. Speak up and let it be. There came a moment in my life where my name faded, where my body stood still, where all reality stood still. Space and time became empty, and in the stillness, in just one snapshot, in one moment, I just knew that I was all. And it was as simple as that. It was empty, it was transparent, and so as I was smiling, a laughter came upon me. And I can't explain to you guys this laughter. You'd think I'd be insane, but this laughter came. And so this laughter was me laughing since all the time that I had been born, as if I had recognized that I was not here. All those ambitions were vague. There was an emptiness that never needed the way to be paved. And so it was like a surrender of ideology to my direct experience. And the direct experience was omniscience, for it took you to your greatest possibility. And there the unspeakable moment took care of the rest. You will see your intuition is your guide. Regardless of who you are, symbology and materiality is not the focus. It is the ability for you to communicate and, in a sense, smile transcendentally in your knowing that you are beyond the object of observance. For the observer could not be seen. But guess what? The observer is keeping your knowing. And that is why you know. And so a being who knows he doesn't know, the profundity is all in your existential awareness. You have enough to work with. If you don't even have books, if you don't even have anything, trust me, if you are a person who has lived, let's say, a week in a city, you have enough to contemplate the rest of reality. Become observant, explore your multidimensionality. Surrendering to omniscience simply means trust life, and in that trust, begin to see where your vision is originating from. Where is all this reality emanating from, and where is the spark? And this is where you begin to see that life has taken you to everything. Much blessings and namaste.